What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So we know for a little while now, Sony has been doing these quiet revisions within the PS5 system. And now, with the latest revision, we have a new chip to take a look at here that actually even gives us an idea as to where Sony is heading with this console. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about an update around the GTA 6 leak situation, as the person responsible appears to have been found, and we're also going to be talking about Halo Infinite with certain Affinity, going into a bit more detail as to how big the mode is that they're working on. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if new here to the SpawnWave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're going to start today with the PlayStation 5 development kit, because on YouTube the other day we had a pretty good look at this thing, and if you remember, leading up to the PS5's eventual reveal and release, that's kind of all we had to go on, were these blurry pictures of what looked like a space hangar. Well, here in this video from Macho Nacho, he just kind of hangs out and shows the thing off, and it sounds like there's gonna be a follow-up video of them tearing it down, which is really, really interesting. I want to see what's going on inside of the space hangar there. But I saw some people bringing up some concerns that Sony may act on this video. I don't think they're going to. I mean, it's been up for a little while now, but I think what Sony is mostly concerned about, because trust me, they have noticed this video, is where it came from. So any advice there from Macho Nacho? Quadruple check your video before it goes up. Tear down anything else you do with this, and just make sure you are hiding or blurring out anything that could identify this device, because if Sony at least believes they know where it came from, they will act quickly. But with that said, absolutely tear it down, because I want to see what's going on in there. Also, the other day we had a look at a new Xbox Series X console variation. At least it was in an ad from Logitech, and I got people online really talking about this, because you can see a still here from VGC that shows a white Xbox Series X in the background, that to go alongside of the PlayStation 5. And I'll admit, I saw this and I was kind of caught off guard by that, because there is no white Xbox Series X. Technically, you could paint it yourself, or you could put like a decal on it, anything like that. And after I thought about it a bit more, it seems like it would go along with kind of the color scheme that they have here, where an Xbox Series X, just as it would normally look, all black, would kind of be a bit out of place there. And in fact, Microsoft did respond to VGC, where they say the white Xbox Series X console for the promotional video by our partner is not in production. We have no plans to release the Xbox Series X console in white at this time. And I hadn't really thought about this much, about like different color variations for the Xbox Series X going forward, like a blue, a red, a white. I mean, the Xbox Series S is white, and I feel like that color difference does help in terms of marketing, whereas if you had a white Xbox Series X and a white Xbox Series S, I don't know if that would get mixed up, but you can't really count out the general consumer and public when it comes to that. But at least for now, does not appear to have any major variations coming out for the Series X in the short term. Oh, and we had a surprising anime announced the other day that I did not expect this. Take a look over on Twitter. This from Netflix says it's your first look at Onimusha, an anime based on Capcom's legendary game. Definitely out of left field for me. I mean, a welcomed surprise. Sure, why not? I mean, Onimusha's been out of the gaming space for a while. I feel like it was a point in time for the PS2 that Capcom wasn't going to do much with after that. They did something with a browser game and stuff, but never really like the next big Onimusha game. I am curious if they are just kind of branching out with some of their other IPs that they don't have any plans to make a game for, but after what we've seen with Cyberpunk and Edge Runners and how 2077 has just exploded once again. By the way, #1 selling game on Steam. Seems like it makes a ton of sense to have a game next to something like a new anime for a game series that's been dormant for so long. Might actually be able to wake it up. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get to the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with GTA 6. Massive leak that happened just over a week ago, with 90 or so videos of in development parts of GTA 6 just kind of leaking out online. It was everywhere. There were talks about the source code. I haven't really seen much follow-up on that one, although the person who apparently acquired all of these videos through Slack did post up some lines of code from it. So I'm not sure there, but it does appear that one of the people who was responsible for this has actually been caught, and we can see this over on VGC, where they say City of London police said on Saturday that a 17-year-old who was arrested in Oxfordshire on Thursday has now been charged with 2 counts of breach of bail conditions with 2 counts of computer misuse. We can see this quote here from Matthew Keyes, journalist, who says the arrest came following an investigation by federal law enforcement officials in the United States who worked with their counterparts in the United Kingdom to identify AK as a suspect in both attacks. Now, they're identifying them as AK because they are 17, being underage. So they go on to say a law enforcement source said at least 2 other people are believed to be involved in the attack against Rockstar and Uber, and additional arrests are expected. And this was originally called out, I know, by Uber, who mentioned the group called Lapsus as being responsible for hacking Uber and even taking these GTA 6 development videos from Slack and posting them online. Now, we also had this statement that was released by the City of London police, and if you look through it, it doesn't mention specifically like Rockstar or Uber or any of the companies that have been named so far. But it does seem to imply that that is what they are targeting here with this arrest. Teenager charged with breach of bail and computer misuse offenses. So I feel like we're going to get more and more information as we go along here with more arrests from, I guess, this group that's being pointed out. Because, I mean, Uber is one thing, but once you get to Take-Two, they don't mess around. You see how quickly this is happening. And I mean, yeah, you have Uber and Take-Two coming together to kind of get the ball rolling here, but Take-Two, GTA 6, which is a massive franchise, billions and billions of dollars. Once that happens, it's game on for them. And as we see, it's not taking long for them to find people responsible for this. So if it is a group, I assume they're going to continue the search until they find, I guess, everyone or everyone they believe to be involved with this entire situation. So we'll see what happens as we go along this week. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation 5 revision that did indeed introduce a 6nm chip into the console. And I'd kind of speculated about this when Austin Evans did some tests with it and found the power draw to be lower than the launch PlayStation 5. And obviously, the system was lighter. That was found just in the specifications of the console, to where the disc-based PlayStation 5 weighed the same as the digital launch PS5. So a big deal there for Sony when it comes to shipping costs, because then you start stacking 20 or 30 or 40 consoles in a pallet, and the weight is much, much different then. But we have our first look at the new chip that's kind of being dubbed Oberon Plus. This was posted up over on Angstronomics, and they have a pretty good write-up here. I'm gonna link to this down below in the sources as usual, but they have a good write-up explaining a lot of things like how die shrinks work, and even some estimations that we'll get to here when it comes to overall cost for Sony and production numbers, which is very important since everyone who wants a PS5 has not been able to get one, and a lot of that has to do with the demand kind of outweighing the supply, which maybe this can help to kind of solve that issue. But here is a side-by-side of the Oberon Plus versus just Oberon. So we have the 6nm versus the 7nm. People started pulling out magnifying glasses and trying to get really, really close to it, and it's not a significant difference to where you look at it and you go, well, obviously, but we are seeing like 300mm squared versus 260mm squared. So shrink, as they say, of about 15% or so. But they do mention that the wafer process can produce near 20% more chips for a similar cost, which means, I mean, there are also components that go into the PS5 outside of just the chip, but essentially, if you can produce more chips per wafer, you would then be able to produce more PS5 systems at once. Now, Angstronomics goes on a bit more to talk about their estimations for overall cost of the PS5, this one versus the previous model, and they're coming up with about 12% difference, as in this newer revision costs Sony 12% less to make. That is all estimations, of course, based on the die shrink that we have here to 6nm. Actual hard numbers, we're never going to hear that from Sony or TSMC or anyone there. But I know people are saying this online. Okay, so they raised prices, and then they also lowered the cost of the console for them to produce. And yeah, that's about it. I thought they would go this route here and never really mention it, and that's a way that they kind of even out the price that they're running into currently with macroeconomics and all these things that keep getting brought up online. But it seems like they decided, you know what, the currency exchange rate, of course we have the explanation for all of this, right? But they decided we're going to raise prices and we're going to lower the cost of the console internally. But I do believe what this is setting us up for, because when we saw the teardown of it, the heatsink continues to shrink and get less and less dense. I think they're moving towards that, let's say, PS5 Slim model. I don't know if it's going to be that much slimmer to like a PS2, like original PS2 to PS2 Slim or even the PS3, but I think it will be noticeably smaller, and it will probably introduce that detachable disk drive. So you can decide if you want a disk drive or not with the PS5, which will continue, I think, to lower the overall production costs for Sony, which will, again, work them to make more money on the console itself. So maybe they introduce that and they actually even lower the price back down. I'm just kidding. It'll probably still say the same. But that's where we are now. It does appear that Sony is setting things up for that rumored currently revision next year. That'll be much more noticeable than what we've been seeing now. Next up, let's talk about Halo Infinite and certain Affinity, which is a development studio that apparently is working on a new Battle Royale mode for Halo Infinite. At least that's the rumor now, or at least their take on how Halo would be able to approach something like Battle Royale. But we had a new interview from the COO at Certain Affinity that went into a bit more detail as to how big this mode really is. We can see this posted up over on VentureBeat from the COO saying, "The biggest thing we're doing that's public right now, for more than 2 years, we've been working on Halo Infinite, doing something that they're very prescriptive about what we can say, but we're doing something unannounced. And we're doing lead development on that unannounced thing. From conception and design, it's something big and new for the franchise, but I can't say any more about it. That's our single largest project of our 3 projects currently. We have close to 100 developers working on that." So I will admit, I saw that I was like 100 developers for this mode, because when I was picturing the mode itself that was being described as a Battle Royale Halo, and then we see Last Spartan standing, I'm like, is it going to be that just built out a little bit more? So I'm picturing like something at a smaller scale. This seems like it might just be an entire game that's separate to it that they just kind of bolt on, like Warzone for Call of Duty, where they did that as kind of an experiment, took off massively, and when you sign into Call of Duty, Warzone was like an option that they added to it. So that's what I'm at least getting at here with Certain Affinity. 100 developers, though, working on this is, that's pretty sizable. So I'm curious about when they'll show this new mode. Sounds like it would be next year, Season 3 or Season 4, and provided they can kind of speed up their roadmaps, we should be seeing it maybe next E3. That is at least me being hopeful around Halo Infinite's current roadmap and situation. But we did have one fun reveal yesterday for Halo, and that has to do with a Halo 3 map that I really like, making its return for Halo Infinite. That happening this winter with their update. We can see this posted up over on Twitter. This is from Halo Esports saying, "The Pit returns." The Pit is an absolute classic level from Halo 3, and apparently they're remaking it in Forge. The thing with this, though, is they went for a different artistic style, environment, time of day even. It seems to be nighttime, and they have kind of the neon purple, so clearly this is designed for me. And they must have just been listening and watching the show here. That's the only explanation I can come up with. We had an entire fly around, though, for it, and yeah, it looks like the Pit. Essentially, it's going to be a map that gets dropped in alongside of the Forge beta for the winter update here in a couple of months, and really just showing you, I guess, a more simplistic view as to what you can do with Forge, because some of the stuff that has been getting out there online where people are making, like, Andy's room from Toy Story is a bit more advanced than this. However, I like the idea of people going into Forge and remaking older Halo maps, and hopefully we have an entire playlist for Forge to go along with it, because it'd be a lot of fun to discover all kinds of interesting creations in Halo. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. It's coming out here October 20th. I'm very excited for it, so less than a month. We're so close. I've been kind of avoiding a lot of the preview coverage because there's quite a bit of it out there, and I'm already sold on the game, so I'm just kind of waiting for it to get here. But there was one thing that popped up, and I figured I would just make sure people people were aware of this because multiplayer was part of that first Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Does not appear like it's going to be making it into Sparks of Hope. We can see this posted up over on Nintendo Life. This was with the producer of the game, who says, "We decided in the middle of production to focus on the solo experience because actually, as we brought many things from the original concept, we started to see how many elements it brought to the table, and to balance that, this revamped system, we wanted to focus our attention on the solo aspect. So it was really important for us, and we decided to assume that the decision in order to scope out dangers where we could go many directions. But then it's unbalanced everywhere, and it's a game that never ships. So it was a decision we took during production." So basically then with scope, and scope of a game can get out of control, and then you end up having multiple delays, as they're mentioning here. So the multiplayer part, though, in Kingdom Battle, when this information got out there, I saw a lot of people go, Kingdom Battle had multiplayer, and I'll admit I didn't use the multiplayer in Kingdom Battle at all. So for me, it was just like, okay, sure, we'll get to October 20th and I'll see how the game itself is. But I am curious, any of you out there watching this, did you use the multiplayer in Kingdom Battle? And if so, are you disappointed that it's not in Sparks of Hope, or did you just not really enjoy it anyway and you're just like, fine, single player all the way, let's get to October 20th. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're gonna take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday. We're asked, with the recent spike in Cyberpunk 2077 sales since Edge Runners released, has a video game-based show or movie made you want to return to or even check out a game for the first time? 56% said no. Look at this, 44% said yes. I saw a lot of people mention Edge Runners in the comments. I'm trying to think back of like the first real like movie or adaptation from a game series that I saw that I was like, you know what, I kind of want to go play that game again. The one I could really remember, though, was Final Fantasy Advent Children. That movie, when that came out, it was really, really hype online at the time, and it popped up, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want to go play Final Fantasy VII again, because it was a fun movie to go through, and I hadn't played 7 in a while. So, yeah, I actually went back and played all the way back through it again because of Advent Children. So, not a new concept, but certainly one that looks like these companies are starting to leverage more and more. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Real Name Redacted, saying they specifically called it a teaser trailer, so most likely the trailer will only be a couple of seconds. Teaser trailers are more or less animated movie posters, usually a title card and a quick voice sample. Wow, people are gonna wait in line for the entire day to see 10 seconds of the logo being slightly animated. I hope they have more to show than that, because if they hype it up like they are here, which you would expect them to for Comic-Con to get more and more people out there, but if they hype it up and you don't hear Mario's voice, that is gonna be a lot of blowback, I think, for that one. So I'd like to believe that they will show up and at least have Mario say a line so we can see exactly what Chris Pratt has been talking about for months now, about this interesting, unique voice he's come up with for Mario. And either way, even if it's like 30 seconds of a trailer, it's going to be analyzed like crazy online just to figure out how you make a Mario movie, what the plot is and all of this. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here. Today was the PlayStation 5 revision with the chip now moving to 6 nanometer. Do you think Sony is setting all this up for a PlayStation 5 Slim next year? And then also, what about the GTA 6 situation with the leaks getting out there and now people starting to get arrested? And certain Affinity, do you think this big Halo Infinite mode that they're coming up with could actually work to revive the game? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.